everybody, good morning. It's been a beautiful, beautiful sunny day. Thank you, Lord. It's been like 3-4 days like this. I think, no, 3 days. It's been amazing. I love days like this. So, welcome to Homemade and Homegrown. My name is Tammy Sousa. And today, this is how I know that we're getting closer and closer to spring. I'm going into town to order my chicks. So I'm going to be ordering some more egg layers and the beginning of our meat kings. If you've never owned chickens, if you've never owned chickens before, they're a lot of fun. And I think everybody should experience it. So this time I'm going to be ordering probably another 12 to 14 egg layers, and I'm going to get them as day-old chicks again. And then as for my meat kings, well, eventually I want the freezer to hold about 50 or 60 of them. We go through a lot of chicken here in my family, and so I'm probably going to go half and half, so half at the beginning of the season, and then I'll take the other half closer to the end of the season and get the last batch raised and processed by, oh, I don't know, maybe the first or second week of October. So that'll give us plenty of time to stock up for the year. But yeah, so come with me as we go to our store to order some chickens. Now, I called into the store, to the feed store, and asked them when are they starting to take orders for the chicks. And they said, actually, we're taking them now. We're taking them early because we're getting a lot more people wanting them. So the earlier the better. So I am on my way right now. Let's go.
But he is there, no doubt, when the storm around you rages and you're tossed to and fro, when you're faced with life's decisions, not sure which way to go. Stand still and let God move. Standing still is hard to do.
So if you ever wonder what it would be like to raise your own meat with chickens, raise your own chickens, whether it was for meat or for eggs, they say that they're usually they're the gateway of getting into livestock and starting to prepare or provide for your family. So I would say yes, they are definitely the easiest animal to look after. When we first started getting into it a few years back, I remember as a kid how Grandpa just had them, you know, just running around the yard. So it was part of my upbringing. So I wanted to have that back. And living where I'm living, it just made sense to have a few chickens for our eggs. But it was last year when we did our first major order for our meat. And they were, if not easier than the egg layers, because they're so easygoing and docile, and at least the breed that we get, which I'm not quite sure what the breed is, but if I compare to what I see the Americans name them as Cornish cross, so I got a feeling that could be them. I have asked the the feed store where we order our chickens, you know, what breed they are, and they don't even know. So they just ordered from a farmer. So they were no help to me. But anyway, but yeah, if you've got like a backyard, I don't know, contact your city council to find out if you're allowed to have backyard chickens. I don't think that there's too many cities or municipalities that don't allow you to have, you know, a few backyard chickens. And as long as you're complying with the health regulations and the rules of keeping your chickens healthy and clean, that's the biggest thing. A clean chicken coop. I've seen quite a few coops that could use a scrub down. Yeah, and the water changed every single day. I changed my chicken water twice a day. They get new water in the morning and new water before they go to bed at night when I close up shop. So, but if you've ever wondered if you could do it, you can. You really can. It's not that hard at all. All you're doing is you're going to the feed store. When they're new, they get, well, you can order different types of feeds, and when they're new, you do have to start them out with a feed that has a bit of an antibiotic. And that's because I don't know the name of, well, it's a long name, the things that they can potentially carry or die from. So most times when people order chickens, they'll lose a couple. Like last year when I ordered my egg layers, I had ordered, how many did I order? I ordered 14 or 15, and I ended up having 11 live. So, and I don't know what it was that they died of, but I do know that when I ordered my Meat Kings, I had ordered 30, and I ended up with 26. And when they're young, in the brooder, in the coop, but in the brooder where the young ones hang out, that's where you've got your heat lamp and the food and the water. Well, sometimes they can smother each other, and that's what I found that this batch that I had ordered last year, that's what happened. Was they smothered a couple, like 3 of them, or 4 of them in the corner. So yeah, well, actually no, there was 3 of them, and then one of them went, as it got older, it had, I don't know if one of the chickens had jumped on his back, or he may have jumped down from the little stoop that they had and broke his leg. So I had to take him out of his misery, unfortunately. So yeah, so when you do order, expect, like if you ordered, say, 6, you figured you could handle 6, expect 1 or 2 of them to pass. I don't know what it is, but I always predict at least a couple out of my order to pass, to die. And naturally, like I have no idea what happens. If you're allowed to have chickens, backyard chickens, in your area, like if you don't live out in the country, a good rule of thumb to have for the size of a chicken coop per chicken is, if you think of, well, see, I'm more generous. Most people would say give them 2 square feet per chicken. So, well, I wouldn't go by that. That's if you're manufacturing a bunch of chickens. But a good sized chicken coop would probably be what you could buy at the stores. I'm noticing a lot of the lumber stores are now building the chicken coops. If you take a look at those, you can build it for a lot cheaper because they are more expensive when they're already pre-built. But if you can look at it and draw it out or whatever. That's kind of what Joe did. He got an idea from a chicken coop that we saw, and he just took pallets. He went around and collected pallets, wood pallets, and then he ended up building our chicken coop that we have now out of recycled wood pallets. So it didn't cost us a thing compared to if you were to buy one at the lumber store, Home Depot or something like that, and they can be anywhere from $300 to $500, right? But I really think that anybody who wants to start providing and being a little bit more self-sufficient, chickens are a great way to start for livestock, for sure. So we're almost there. Okay, we have arrived. Yep, life is better in the garden. You got that right. Busy as a bee. Don't bug this lady. Mommy, a bug. Hi. Oh my gosh, you're just like Buddy. My old cat that I had for 15 years. Oh my goodness. Your reincarnation. Getting zapped in the nose. You are beautiful. Yeah. Are you the guard cat for the store? Yeah. Oh my goodness. Literally just like my old cat. So these are the supplies that you would need. Feeder and waters. Waters are on the other side. These are the different types of feeders you can get. I got these last year for the chicks. I like them better. I just picked up this and then I added my canning jar to it. So it's pretty handy. I find it's a lot more cleaner too. Demacious earth. This is good for controlling any fleas, any parasites. Reduces moisture. Some heat lamps. Brooder lamp with a clamp, that's good. So these are types of things that you would need. That makes a good brooder. Pen is the horse feeder. I think I'm going to pick up one of these. Dye on it. Now these are the different waters you can get. Thank you.
Take care.
Yeah, you too. Okay, so now that I've got my chickens ordered for the spring, I can't wait till they arrive. First batch will arrive in April, so yeah, we'll be having to get ready for those. But today, what I also wanted to do with you is do some canning. This is going to be my first time using this bad boy up here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to can frozen beans, actually, to get them out of my freezer, to make room for my freezer. So we're going to can some green beans today. So, da 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 da, there it is. So, bring it over by the stove. It feels intimidating. I've never done this before, so we're going to do this together. Okay, first we want to make sure that we wash these jars in hot soapy water. This is straight hot water. So make sure that they're nice and clean and rinsed with hot water. As you can see, on the other side of my sink is the green beans. So I'll be careful not to splash it over there. And then we're going to air dry them here over on the counter on a towel. So we'll do that first. Okay, we got the jars all nicely washed and rinsed with hot water. Apparently now in the canning industry, they used to say that you had to sterilize everything, and apparently now we don't have to. So, but if you still want to sterilize, you can always put them in your oven set at 200. Otherwise, or you can do it in your dishwasher and set it on the setting for sanitizing. Okay, so before I get started, I'm just going to tell you what you're going to need in order to get this going. Okay, so obviously you're going to need a pressure canner. Okay, it comes with the rack here at the bottom so that the jars aren't bouncing around and things like that could potentially break them inside. But I went on Amazon in order so that I could stack whatever, like when I do pint jars, so I can stack another row of them inside. So I went on Amazon and I bought a pack of 2. Your funnel. This is your measuring end, and this is your debubbler end to debubble the jars. And then this here is a lid lifter. It's magnetic. So yeah, so everything's all nicely clean and ready to go. And we'll start filling up these green beans that are here in the sink. They've been draining. So what I did was I took the frozen beans out of the freezer, put them in hot water, so that now it's just like as if you pick them right out of the garden. So, excuse me. So that's what they're like, and I got the chopped ones, so it saves me prep time. I did get some of the ones that aren't chopped up, but I just figured that this would save me some time. So we're gonna get filling these jars up, and yeah. Okay, here we go. Now, you may be hearing the kettle boiling in the background because we're going to use the boiling water to fill these jars up. Get them to the lip, this part here, get them up to about there. That's good. Okay, and then we're going to pour the hot water once they're ready. So I'm just going to keep filling these up. So I'm really excited about doing this. I've prayed before, because like I said, this is the first time I've done this. And I don't want to mess up at all. So but I saw a woman on YouTube doing this, and I thought, genius. Nothing's growing in our gardens right now, so why not take advantage of what's already available? And see, this is even good for you guys that don't have gardens, right? I'll bring you up a bit. The ones that don't have gardens, you can very well easily get closet may be ready, and put some shelves in it, and then go to your local grocery store, get some frozen vegetables, and store some food. I just really feel like this year is going to be a year that's going to be a lot of people learning how to do stuff like this because of uncertainty. You know, you just never know what the food industry, they're already struggling in 2020, so who knows what's going to happen in 2021, right? So just keep filling these up and we'll be right back, okay? Okay, we've got them all nicely filled. Let's see if I can show you here. Okay, the water just finished boiling on my kettle, and we will get filling these up very carefully. And you're going to bring the water up to a 1-inch line, which is really kind of underneath the lip here, but you can always measure it. That's a full inch right there, so the water comes up to there. Okay, then you're going to take the end of your debubbler, and if you can see the bubbles coming up, we try to get as many of those bubbles out, and you just have to go along the side. Okay, then all you do is you take your lid, put that on top, and put the ring on finger tight. Don't crank it, just nicely finger tight like that. Okay, and put it in the jar or in the can. Okay, let's do it again. Show you a couple more, and then we will finish filling these up, and then we'll get to the canning part. Okay. All right, debubble. Let's see. Fair amount of bubbles coming up. Okay. Get a lid on there. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? I gotta take the other one out. Now, she said it wasn't really necessary because all we did was water and there's no salt or anything like that. But you want to make sure that you wipe the rim off to make sure that there is nothing obstructing the seal. I'm not going to put any salt. Some people put salt in these, but I'm not going to do that. Okay, let's put this back on. Here we go. Get a ring. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to fill these up and we'll be right back. Okay, so I have more room that I can put a couple more jars in. So what I've done is I went to my freezer to grab the ones that aren't chopped, and I'm just de-thawing them in hot water here. They're almost thawed out, and we're going to fill up the jars, the rest of the jars, and hopefully this should be enough. We'll see. Okay, as you can see, I still had a little bit left that I couldn't, I ran out of jars, so, but there wouldn't be enough in here to do a can anyways. So we've got a total of 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 pint jars inside the canner. We filled the canner with 3 inches of water, okay? And what I love about these canners is that there's inside, you can't see it right now, but along the wall, there's a measuring. So the first line is where you where you fill up the water line. So we've got them in the canner. Now we are going to put the lid on them. Okay, so this canner is a dial canner, and some canners are different, but there is a vent right here, and they want you to look through the light to make sure that it's nice and clear and that there's nothing obstructing it or clogging it. I blew through it. And I did see a piece of, because it's brand new, I just took it out of the box, out of the package, and last week, so, and I did wash it, but obviously it didn't get through there, so it's good to make sure that that's checked. But we want to make sure that the dial is facing towards me so I can see what's going on. Okay, so now we're going to slide it together. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to bring it over here. First, I forgot to mention, when I put the water in the canner, they recommend you putting like 2 tablespoons of white vinegar in the canner. It just, apparently it helps make sure that it doesn't create any kind of calcium deposits and things like that on your jars. It keeps them nice and clear, as well as your canner. Okay, so depending on your elevation, I'm 10 pounds, so go online and find out what your elevation is. And so this is a dial canner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it up to the 10 pounds, but that doesn't happen until this vent right here shoots out steam for a good solid 10 minutes. So once it starts steaming and it's going good, I'm going to set a timer for 10 minutes, because what we need to do is exchange the air that's in here for steam. So once this is going off for 10 minutes, I'll bring you to that point when it is venting, before we put the weight on it, which is this. Okay, so once it's ready, I'll be plopping it on like that. Once that is happening, this is going to build up, and then that's when this is going to build up to your 10-11 pounds of pressure. According to the book that came with this, it does say that for beans to allow 10 to 11 pounds of pressure, and you do it for 20 minutes. So that's what I'll be doing. But I'll see you once this vent gets steaming, okay? Which will take a few minutes. Actually, I thought it would be a really good idea to go over the book together. This is a Presto brand. There's other brands out there. But anyway, I thought it would be a good idea that if you haven't done this, that we learn it together. So, according to the book, we've got that pressure regulator, which is the weight that we're going to put on that vent, which here's the vent. The pressure regulator acts as a safety device to prevent pressure in excess of 15 pounds from building in the canner. Pressure readings are registered only on the pressure dial gauge. Next is the vent pipe. The vent pipe is the primary pressure relief valve and will release pressure in excess of 15 pounds. The pressure regulator sits loosely on the vent pipe. Then on the canner itself, see if you can see that, on the canner itself here, I'll show you a picture here. That's what that's showing, okay? This is the air vent cover lock. The air vent cover lock automatically vents or exhausts air from the canner and acts as a visual indicator of pressure in the canner. The small gasket must be in place for the air vent cover lock to seal completely. When that happens, this will pop up, just like the way it is. Locking bracket. Well, the locking bracket is on the canner itself, and the locking bracket on the inside of the canner body engages with the air vent lock vent, or air vent cover lock to prevent the cover from being opened when there is pressure in the unit. Sealing ring. So the sealing ring is on the lid. The sealing ring fits into the canner cover and forms a pressure-tight seal between the cover and the body during canning and cooking. Cooking rack, which is inside of it right now, but this is what that looks like. I ordered a couple more so that I can stack them inside. The canning rack is cooking rack is placed in the bottom of the canner to hold jars off the bottom of the unit while canning. When cooking, the rack is used for steaming foods. It can also be used to hold foods such as vegetables out of the cooking liquid, which allows several foods to be cooked at the same time without intermingling of flavors. That's pretty neat. When it is desirable to blend flavors, do not use the canning cooking rack. The canning cooking rack must always be used when canning. Wash the cover, body, and sealing ring with warm, sudsy water to remove any manufacturing oils. Rinse all parts with warm water and dry. Now I'm going to show you about what they're talking about. You see that? That is from the manufacturer. So when I was washing the lid, that's what I got off of the lid. I couldn't believe it, but make sure you wash it. The sealing ring is pre-lubricated. If necessary, to help make the cover easier to open and close, a very light coating of vegetable oil may be applied to the sealing ring, which is what I did. The cover should open and close easily when following the instructions. Okay, so then now we're going to move on to the vent, or I mean the dial. Check the air vent cover lock in the canner to be sure the two pieces are screwed together securely, which I did. So where the weight goes, here, let me bring it over. Okay, so where the weight goes here, underneath, there was a washer and a rubber seal. So I made sure that that was nice and properly fitted. Okay, so important, the dial gauge is a delicate instrument which must be handled with care. Do not submerge, cover, or let gauge come in contact with any liquid. Do not store the dial gauge at temperatures below freezing. So when you're going to wash your canner, you're going to remove that if you happen to have a dial canner. I'm not sure about the other ones, so I'm not going to advise on any of that. I'm just going to advise on this particular canner. It says a helpful hint to help yourself understand the operation of the pressure canner. Pour 4 cups of water into the canner and follow the step-by-step instructions. So remember when I said that each inside the canner there's, well, I don't know if you can see it, but anyway, there's 3 markings inside the canner. And when you're canning, pressure canning, you're going to fill the water up to that first line, which is the bottom line. And that's where they suggest 2 tablespoons of white vinegar. Always use canning rack, as jars may break if set directly on bottom of canner. Note 3 quarts of water are needed regardless of how many jars are being canned. Place filled jars on canning rack immediately after each jar is filled, which we did. Hold the cover up to the light and look through the vent, which we did. It was all nice and clear. Had I not looked, it wouldn't have been clear, so I'm glad I looked. Place cover on the canner, aligning the V markings, which are on the handles right here. Okay, so now we're going to get to using a relatively high heat setting. Heat the pressure canner until a steady flow of steam can be seen. And that's what we're waiting to happen. It might take a while. I'm not sure. So like I said, this is the first time. And I'm timing to see how long it takes to get to venting. So moving on, exhaust air from the canner for 10 minutes by allowing steam to flow from the vent pipe. Reduce heat if necessary to maintain a steady, moderate flow of steam. Place pressure regulator on the vent pipe. If heat was reduced from exhausting, adjust to a relatively high setting and heat canner. As pressure develops in the canner, the air vent cover lock will lift and lock the cover on the canner. The air vent cover lock is a visual indicator of the pressure or of the presence of pressure. When in the up position, pressure is in the canner. When in the down position, there's no pressure in the canner. Also, as pressure builds, the pointer of the gauge will move across the face, continue heating until the pressure dial gauge registers to the correct pressure. Adjust heat to maintain the correct pressure on the dial gauge. The pressure regulator will rock only at 15 pounds of pressure. This is unlocked, which means the gauge is down, and then locked is when the thing pops up. Processing time begins when the pressure gauge registers the correct pressure. Adjust heat to maintain correct pressure on the pressure dial gauge. If pressure drops below desired setting, it will be necessary to bring pressure to the correct setting and begin processing countdown from the beginning for the full amount of time. Now, I've heard people that are professional canners, and they say if that drops, you have to literally start the process over. So I'm not sure if you no longer have to do that, especially when it says if pressure drops below desired setting, it will be necessary to bring pressure to the correct setting and begin processing countdown from the beginning for the full amount of time. So I don't know. Rules change, I guess. Helpful hint: to more easily maintain pressure, it may be beneficial to reduce the heat when the pressure dial gauge regulators 1.5 to 2 pounds less than the desired pressure. So according to because there's recipes also that came in this, which I love, and according to the green beans, it says to do it for 20 minutes on the 11 pounds of pressure. So as long as it stays between 10 and 11 pounds, and also I don't think it's no more than 12 or 13 pounds. You don't want it to go any higher than 13, but try and keep it within that time, or that pressure. At the end of processing time, turn burner to off and remove canner from the heat source. Let pressure drop of its own accord. So once everything is done, then you just let the pressure canner depressurize and cool off basically on its own. Or do not attempt to speed the cooling of the canner, which can cause jar breakage, liquid loss from the jars, and other problems. Pressure is completely reduced when the air vent, cover lock, and overpressure plug have dropped and no steam escapes from the pressure regulators once it's lifted. Do not use the pressure dial gauge as an indicator for when pressure is completely reduced. When pressure has been completely reduced, remove the pressure regulator from the vent pipe and let the canner cool for 10 minutes. Do not remove the pressure regulator until pressure is completely reduced and the air vent and cover lock has dropped. Always remove the pressure regulator before opening the cover. You're going to turn your lid, and then you're going to make sure that when you remove it, you're going away from your face so that if there is any other steam, it doesn't come up and burn you in the face. We wouldn't want that. You're too beautiful for that. Remove jars from the canner. Set jars upright on board or cloth away from draft to cool. When jars are cold, test your seal, remove the bands, wipe jars, label and date them, and store in a cool, dry place. Now you can do a hot pack or a raw pack. This one is considered a raw pack, but if you're doing a hot pack, it says cover beans with boiling water and boil 5 minutes. Pack hot beans loosely in a clean hot mason jar, leaving 1-inch headspace. The raw pack is pack raw beans tightly in a clean hot mason jars, leaving 1-inch headspace. Remove air bubbles, prepare jar rims, and adjust 2-piece lids. At 11 pounds of pressure, pints, which are what I have inside 20 minutes, and quarts, which are the bigger ones, is 25 minutes. So we're gonna continue to wait for the venting to start, and once that does, I will see you back then, okay? Okay, it literally took an hour for my canner to start venting. I'm not sure if it's got to do with my stove, but I'm pretty sure it is. But this thing finally popped up over here in the back. So according to that, that means that it's locked. The air vent cover is locked. And I have to have this steady steam. There is steam coming from it, but I'm assuming it has to be more than what I'm seeing here. And then I'm to let that vent with the steam. Like, it's steaming, but you can't even see it. So I'm not even sure if that's good enough. But I'm gonna set it for the 10 minutes that it requires to vent, and then I'll put the weight on. Okay, so it is doing a steady steam. I'm going to now put the weight on it and let that build up on the dial till it hits 10, 11 mark pounds of pressure. When that happens, which will be only a few minutes, I'm hoping, I'll bring you back. Okay, it took an additional 7 minutes to come up to the pressure here of 10 pounds. So as soon as that reaches there, I'm going to set my timer for processing the green beans for 20 minutes. So I have to keep an eye on and regulate my heat source to make sure that it stays here at 10, 11 pounds. Okay, I'm going to now start the timer of 20 minutes. Press start. Okay, we'll see you in 20 minutes, people. Okay, time's up. That's been processing for 20 minutes. I kept it regulated right there between 10.5 and 11. I'm going to shut the heat off and let that cool down all on its own. See you in a little while. Okay, we're at the end. All the pressure has been released. This valve back here has been put back down. So we're going to open the lid and see how we did. There we go. Now pull away. Like so. That was hot. So I don't know, it's good to me. Bring you over. So it looks like we had a little bit of seepage going on. Not quite sure, but let's see if they turned out. There we go. First batch. One thing about pressure canning, you just don't know what's going on inside the jar or inside the canner itself to see what's going on. Well, I think I just heard one pop already. Take this hot thing out of here. Okay. This is the bottom row. I didn't quite have a full batch on the top row, but I'm sure that's fine. This is definitely going to free up some space in my freezer. I just heard another pop. So all you canning pros out there, why did I get a little bit of seepage going on on the cans or the lids? I'll show you what I mean. Let's turn the camera around. So yeah, if you know what the seepage is all about, comment below, please. Okay, so that's it. We've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 pints of green beans. All ready for my shelf. So this is the first time I've done this. Thank you, Lord. So I'm going to leave these sit and let them cool off, and the lid's popping. We want to hear more popping. Just like that. And that way we know that they're getting a good seal. So once these are cooled off, I will bring you back and we'll check the seal together and we'll be finished. Okay, and also, not quite sure why this happened on the pot. I've cleaned it. I've used vinegar, hot soapy water, and I can't get this off. So, and this is the first time I've used the pot. So if you know how to get rid of this and clean it, please comment below and let me know. Thank you. Okay, it has been half an hour since we took the, well, about 20 minutes, since we took them out of the canner. And we're going to check to see if the seal has worked. So, and what we're checking for is, and they're still fairly hot. So if you're not hearing any like popping back at you, then they're sealed. So those are sealed and they are very, very hot. Yeah. So once these cool down even more, I will remove the rings, or wash them actually, wipe them down, and then remove the rings and then bring them down to down in the cellar downstairs. So that's it, everybody. I'm so glad that you were able to join me today. It's definitely been a learning experience. My next project is probably going to be potatoes. So stay tuned for that. So again, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate your support. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, do a like to the video, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss another video that we post. So thank you and God bless.